Hi dear students, you are welcome in this video. Today we are going to talk about Kabuliwallah, a short story composed by Rabindranath Tagore, and we will understand what is there in the short story and how this short story has been composed. So we will discuss so many things from this short story. It's a very famous short story written by Rabindranath Tagore. First we will talk about the background of Rabindranath Tagore. As you know about Rabindranath Tagore, but still we will think about some of the major things about Rabindranath Tagore, and then we will talk about the plot and its summary of the story, how many characters are there and how this plot of the story revolves around these characters, and we will also talk about the themes discussed in this short story. So let's start here. Kabuliwallah by Rabindranath Tagore. This is one of the very famous short story by Rabindranath Tagore, and this story has a very special significance in the we can say that in English literature, because still this story is prescribed in so many universities for the syllabus. So dear students, before starting the direct story, let's understand some of the questions which may be asked for your examinations. So here we have a very first question: how are human relations depicted in the story Kabuliwallah? There may be second question like this: comment on the relationship formed between Mini and Kabuliwallah. So these are two very important characters in the story. Third question may be: Kabuliwallah is a heart-touching story of human relationship. Explain in your words. And here we have the last question: narrate the story Kabuliwallah from Mini's point of view. So you can have answers to these questions when you listen to this story very carefully. So we will try to solve all these questions. Generally these are the descriptive type questions, and you can find that there is similarity in all these questions, and hence answer also would be similar. Now let's start with the background to Rabindranath Tagore. As we all know about Rabindranath Tagore, he was a very versatile personality, not only in Bengali literature but in Indian literature, in English too. So here we have his lifespan 1861 to 1941. So he was born in Calcutta, then Calcutta, now it is called as Kolkata, in an aristocratic family of artists. So he was born in a family where we find there were painters, composers, musicians and literary persons. So he born in the family of artists, and hence he got a very we can say that conducive atmosphere for arts, and he educated at home initially, but later he was sent to England for formal schooling. He was a very versatile artist or versatile personality, we can say, because not only he worked in the field of literature, he worked in the field of painting, he worked in the field of other arts too, like music and sculpture and other kind of things. So he handled almost all forms of literature in his lifetime. We can say he wrote short stories, he composed novel, he composed dramas. Again, he has written so many lyrics, and he is probably world's the only person who might have composed largest number of songs or lyrics. So there is so many lyrics and songs on his name. More than 1,000 songs he has composed, and he is such a very, we can say that, giant personality in the field of literature. Again, he started an experimental school at Shantiniketan, school without walls, and later this school has been turned into a great institution or a great university called Vishwa Bharati, which became very famous, and the education there became a world known education system in Vishwa Bharati. Let's talk about some of the important works. He composed some dramas, he composed fiction, non-fiction, he composed essays and many kinds of things in literature. So here are some of the important dramas, and very first we have Gitanjali or Song Offerings. Actually it is not a drama, but it is a collection of 103 poems or 103 songs or lyrics, which was written in Bengali in 1912, but he himself translated Gitanjali in 1913, and in the same year it received the world famous Nobel Prize award for Gitanjali. William Butler Yeats, a very renowned English poet or Irish poet, written an introduction to Gitanjali, and he received the Nobel Prize award, and in that introduction he praised the songs composed by Rabindranath Tagore. Now we have his plays. Now these all are plays composed by Rabindranath Tagore. This is Sannyasi or Ascetic. It is translated in English as Ascetic. Then we have Nalini, then we have Chitra, then we have Raja or the King of Dark Chamber, the Post Office, Malini, Chandalika. These are some of the famous plays by Rabindranath Tagore. He also composed some fiction, and let's understand some of his stories, short stories. So here we have Hungry Stones and Other Stories. From this story, this present story called Kabuliwallah is taken from Hungry Stones and Other Stories. Then we have The Home and the World. Then this is a novel composed by Rabindranath Tagore. This is the novel. Actually it is written in Bengali, but later it is translated into English, and this novel also is very famous in Bengali and English too. Then we have a short story collection called Broken Toys and Other Stories, and there is a very, we can say that, great thing about Rabindranath Tagore, that he composed national anthem from for 3 countries, India, Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, and he is the only person in the world who composed national anthems for 3 countries. So this is the greatness of Rabindranath Tagore. He was died in Kolkata in 1941. So this is the life story of Rabindranath Tagore. I hope you might know many things, many other things about Rabindranath Tagore, but these are some of the important things I thought, and hence I shared the same things with you. Now let's understand the character. I will tell you the story of Kabuliwallah, but before that let's understand the characters. There are 5 characters and all these characters are important in the story. Very first, here we have the narrator. Actually narrator is a third person in the novel, but he tells the story and he have control over other characters in the story. Say for example, he tells about Mini, he tells about Kabuliwallah, he tells about other things in the story. So narrator is important, and here narrator is nothing but the poet himself or the author of the story himself. Name of the narrator is not disclosed here, but we can understand that this narrator is nothing but the writer himself. This is the first character. Second character is Kabuliwallah. This character is a very important character, or we can say that it is the central character in the story, one of the central characters in the story. So Kabuliwallah is a person who came from Kabul or from Afghanistan, and he is a peddler. He sells different types of things. For example, he sells dry fruits, he sells the Rampuri shawls, he sells the toys for children, and he came to Kolkata, where all the events happen in that city or around the home of the narrator or Mini. So his name is Abdul Rahman. So Abdul Rahman, this Kabuliwallah is Abdul Rahman. So this is one of the central characters in the story. Now next character, again one of the central, or we can say that a major character in the story is Mini. Mini is a daughter of narrator, and we find the bond between Mini and Kabuliwallah in this story, and this whole story revolves around these 2 characters, Kabuliwallah and Mini. So Mini is the counterpart, in a way we can say, to Kabuliwallah or Abdul Rahman, because these 2 characters are major characters in the story. Next character we have Mini's mother. She is a typical Indian mother, and she worries about Mini or her daughter, and we can find in her that she is any woman or any mother in India who cares a lot for her children. And last character we have Parvati. Actually Parvati is a daughter of Abdul Rahman or Kabuliwallah, but she does not appear in the story. Only the name of this daughter or the name of Parvati appears in the story, and she is the daughter of Abdul Rahman or Kabuliwallah. And again we find a bond between Kabuliwallah and his daughter Parvati. Now these are the characters in the story. Actually a story or short story has 3 to 6 characters, and here we find 5 characters in the story. All characters are important, but these 2 characters are the major characters in the story. Now let's understand the story and plot. So there are 3 sections: opening, middle, climax and ending of the story, and we will understand one by one. So opening. At the opening of the story, it is shown that Minnie is a chattering girl who talks a lot, who asks a lot of questions to whoever come to her, and we find Minnie is a 5-year-old girl in the story, or it is described initially, and she asks a lot of questions to particularly her father, and her father tries to answer those questions. Once her father was writing a novel, and there came Minnie, and Minnie asked him a first question about what are you doing or something like that, and he just tries to answer the question in the same way, or meanwhile she asks the second question. When he tries to answer the second question, again she asks the third question. So Minnie is portrayed as a girl, as a chattering girl, or as a girl who talks a lot or who asks a lot of questions. And in the openings we can find that Kabuliwallah and Minnie has first meeting. When Kabuliwallah was passing from the home of Minnie, she calls Kabuliwallah as "Oh Kabuliwallah, oh Kabuliwallah," and Kabuliwallah comes to the home, and he enters the house or home of Minnie, and he finds that the girl ran into another room by fear of Kabuliwallah, because the attire or the appearance of Kabuliwallah was a different kind. He wore we can say that a long clothes and hollow clothes, and so that Minnie got fear of that cloth and Kabuliwallah. So Kabuliwallah was a strange person. When he comes and he asks about Minnie, the narrator or the father of Minnie tells him about Minnie, and when he leaves the home, he again asks narrator, where is Minnie? And there narrator thought that he should meet Minnie to Kabuliwallah, so that the fear in the mind of Minnie will reduce, and he calls Minnie to meet Kabuliwallah, and there happens the first meeting between Kabuliwallah and Minnie, and from there their friendship grows or flourishes. And next section we have middle of the story. What happens in the middle? Here the friendship flourishes. This is very important. From the first meeting, then Kabuliwallah or Abdul Rahman often comes to the home of Minnie or the narrator, and he meets Minnie, and they chat, they talk on different types of topics of the children, and they laugh, they have very joyful moments spent together, and from there their friendship flourishes. So this is we can say that the story of two persons, one is of 5-year-old and Kabuliwallah is a person in his middle age, but this age does not matter for their friendship, because they have a very strong bond of humanity, we can see there. But in the next section or in the middle, we can find that misfortune happens to Abdul Rahman. What happens? Abdul Rahman tries to collect his old debts from his old customers, and he went to the home of a customer asking the debts or asking the money to pay him. But what happens there? In the heat of moment, he directly stabs that customer. That customer actually refuses to pay the debt of Abdul Rahman, and in the heat of moment he stabs that customer, and there the customer dies. And what happens next? The police came and arrested Abdul Rahman or Kabuliwallah, and just they took him away from that home, and he was just again passing from the Minnie's home. There were blood stains on the clothes of Abdul Rahman or Kabuliwallah, and that was seen by Minnie, and Minnie stops him, and Minnie asks him, are you going to your father-in-law's home? So father-in-law's home is a phrase often used there in the Bengal, and it has two we can say that meanings. The very first meaning is the house of father-in-law, or we can say that it has negative connotation. And the second meaning is jail. So father-in-law's home means jail. So actually she does not know about jail or that kind of things or negative things, but just she asks because they have talked about this father-in-laws, because in Bengal we find that it's very common thing to talk about father-in-law's home in a negative sense. Here also in India we find that most of the time this word is used, or this phrase is used to connote something negative. And here also Mini asks him, Abdul Rahman or Kabuliwallah, that are you going to your father-in-law's home? And he smiles and says, yes, I am going there. So till this moment Mini does not know the meaning of jail or this father-in-law's home. And here we can say that he goes to the jail. What happens next? So next is we can find that there are so many things happens in the story. We find a climax and ending of the story. So Kabuliwallah goes to jail there, and their friendship stops there. Their bond of humanity, we can say, that stops for some years or for some moments. And again after 8 years living in the jail, he returns and directly he comes to the house of Mini, or to the home of Mini. And there he asks narrator. Narrator is sat there. He comes to the home, he enters home, and he asks narrator, where is Mini? But now the situation is completely changed. What happened? Actually Mini has grown up after 8 years, means she is a grown up girl, and in her house wedding ceremony is arranged. And narrator says that Mini will not meet you. He asks narrator that he wanted to meet Mini, but narrator directly refuses, and he says that Mini won't meet you because she is preparing for her marriage, for her wedding ceremony, and she is busy. And there narrator did not want to meet Kabuliwallah to Mini. And then Kabuliwallah just stood up and he moved to return. And when he goes out, again he comes in and he shows a piece of paper to narrator, or to the poet, or to the writer. And on that paper the writer or narrator found there was an impression of hand in black color, and that impression or that imprint or that print was of Parvati's hand, or Kabuliwallah's daughter's hand. And then Kabuliwallah tells him his story, that he also had a daughter with the same age, Mini, and he found his daughter in the form of Mini. And then narrator understood his emotions, and the tears rolling over the cheeks of narrator. And narrator also feels sad for Kabuliwallah or for Abdul Rahman, and he just draws a note of 100 rupees and he gives that 100 rupees to Kabuliwallah, and he advises him to return to Kabul or to his home and find his daughter and meet his daughter. So at that point the story ends. So this is the story. It's a very simple story, and this story has different types of themes. We will also talk about those themes. So I hope you understood the story, what happens right from first to the ending. Now let's talk about different types of themes. What is the very prominent theme in the story? And here we have human relations or humanity. As we see that human relations are described at par by Rabindranath Tagore. This is the first theme in the story. And we also find humanity, because at the end the narrator calls Mini, and Mini and we can say that Abdul Rahman or Kabuliwallah meets to each other, and there we find the bond of humanity. And again narrator gives him 100 rupees, and he cuts some, we can say that the preparation, or he draws out some money from the preparation and gives to Abdul Rahman to meet his daughter Parvati. So this is the first theme. Second theme, we have friendship. So here we have friendship between Mini and Kabuliwallah or Abdul Rahman, and again we find an indirect bond of friendship between Kabuliwallah and narrator. So this is also an important theme discussed here in the story. Next theme, we have fatherly love. Now this theme has we can say three levels. Very first, we can find that filial love between narrator and his daughter Mini. Second, filial love between Kabuliwallah and Mini. And third, filial love between Kabuliwallah and his daughter Parvati. On these three levels, or with these relations, we find fatherly love described or portrayed in the story. Now next theme, we have fear of foreign or strange person. This is also one of the themes in the story. When we did encounter this theme, when Mini's mother did not want to meet Kabuliwallah, and when he cares more about Mini, at that time we find that fear of foreign or strange person is evident there in the story. And sometimes readers also feel that what happens to Mini when Mini meets to Kabuliwallah, or is there some negative or bad kind of things Kabuliwallah has with him. So this kind of things, or this kind of thinking come to our mind. And last theme which I thought there is in the novel is that the same person can be good or bad. If you look at Abdul Rahman, or if you look at Kabuliwallah, you will understand that in a heat of moment directly stabs a person. So this is a very bad thing. And in the same way, we can find out there is a human being in the heart of Abdul Rahman or Kabuliwallah, and there is a father who loves his daughter so much, and we find that bond between Mini and Kabuliwallah. So the same person can be bad and good. This is also one of the themes in the story. So this is all about the story Kabuliwallah. I hope you understood the characters, the story and plot, and different types of themes, and now you are able to answer the questions which we have already discussed. There were 4 questions, so you can find the answer to all these questions. If you have any problem, any query, you can directly contact me. You can comment below in the comment section. I will answer to your queries or your questions. So let's meet in the next video. Thank you very much.